Good morning, everybody. I know you're excited for another day of city council budget hearings. Probably because we all need a little bit more sleep. This weekend was pretty stressful. I know I had trouble getting out of bed this morning. I had no trouble staying up late last night, though. Did y'all see the action on Twitter? There's a lot going on Twitter. Really fun. Fucking reminder, you guys, cover your face when you go out. COVID is a gift to protesters. Remember that. Now, with the city council budget hearings, I am not going to be able to live stream them the way that I normally do or prefer to, calling things out as I hear them, based off and comparing that to the line item budget that I would have gone through to prepare you for that period. But there are two things you need to remember as we go into today's meeting. And one of them, it's this. There you go. And the second, I'll give you a minute to read that. Racist and ableist. They don't care about disabled people. And the budget proves it. Because this seems to be their plan. We're just going to let black people die until the budget balances. Now, if you go through the line item budget like my team did over the weekend, and I would like to shout out big thank you to everyone who did. That was very revealing last night. They are cutting services, literally. They are shuttling money over for security purposes. So nothing is really being taken away from the police department at all. At a time when we are cutting social workers, we are allocating more money to social worker training. I'm not kidding, for police officers. And we're enabling this data collection group that's going to be hiring 21 new people I've never seen before. And I have to ask, is that connected to the RTCIC, which, by the way, is the Minority Report stuff that the ACLU and the NLG have been talking about? And if you've not seen Minority Report, that is a movie with Tom Cruise that included a group called Pre-Crime, where they determine who is likely to commit a crime in the future and gets them before it stops. Part of the reason that the RTCIC should freak you out and you should wear a mask in public for the rest of your life, no matter what happens with COVID, is the fact that right now there is face scanning technology in the RTD system. And allegedly it was there to make it easier to use the app. Unfortunately, there is a group of companies, oddly enough, seem to be funded by some venture capital firms out of Boulder. And who do we know that made a whole lot of money in Boulder with venture capital? That's right, our governor, Jared Polis. That's not weird at all, right? So all these companies are being brought in to connect all these systems. All of this is public information. This isn't like MK playing Encyclopedia Brown or even Carmen Sandiego. It's out there. It was published in April. That's the most recent time it was in the local news and no one noticed or cared because RTCIC, what's that? It's on the budget. I know this stuff is boring, but if we're going to defund the police, we have to go where the funding is, and that's in the city council budget. City council does not have a whole lot of control over creating the budget. That's the mayor's office. But what they can do is veto it. They can say no. And we need to be pushing them all really hard to do exactly that right now. Okay, because they are creating a pre-crime department that's going to scan your face first thing in the morning when you get on the light rail, should we ever be able to do that again. And then the police will have access to that, your comings, your goings, your tickets, physical proof to be like placing you at a scene. So imagine if you are, I don't know, black and your face isn't covered and the camera's a little fuzzy, but someone steals your wallet. And I mean, it would be really easy to set someone up and it would be really, really hard to prove that you were set up, which unfortunately, the burden of proof, who is it on in this justice system that we're all arguing against right now? My point is this: the number of ways you can be trapped are growing. All this digital stuff is presented in a way to make you feel safer and secure. What it is increased surveillance, way beyond anything Edward Snowden warned us about in 2013 and we weren't ready to hear. So if that's too conspiracy theorist for you, amazing. Prove me wrong. Go through the budget and look at it. Sit through this meeting and listen to it, and then tell me why I'm wrong. I would love to know. City Council, can you tell me why I'm wrong? I would love to know. And please do something other than I'm a woman, because I'm also a woman who went to Wharton and likes budgets. I'm a woman who worked on Wall Street and likes budgets. I'm a woman who's an investment banker and is pretty good with Excel. And I'm pretty good at all of this, at figuring out where companies, people, and government budgets, because I worked with some infrastructure bonds, hide cash that they don't want bankers to know about, much less the citizens whose money they're actually spending. Yeehaw! You can't trick me too much, but you can with me, and I'm not going to tolerate that silently at home. So on that note, we are now going to share the screen because I have legit work to do today, unfortunately, and I don't have childcare. So instead of doing my commentary, I'm going to share Candy Tabaka, the inimitable, her Facebook feed, and some of the comments on there while I try to get my work done. Okay? Yay! Let's get started. Let's find her live. Who are those people? Go to her Facebook page. I'm like, who is that? Candy, are you live? I can't find you. Candy, Candy, supper's on the table, come home. Name that show. Or better yet, name that song that line was sampled into in the 90s, because we're going to party like it's 1989 up in here. Whoops, that's the wrong Candy Soda Bucket. Let's try the right one. There we go. Oh, that starts at 10. Okay, that would be the problem. Let's go. Department of Safety Transportation. Webinar's over. It's supposed to be from 9 to 10. That can't be over. It's never over. Name that movie. Well, let's try this instead. Go share a different screen. Apologies for the delay, y'all. So as you can see here from this screen, there's supposed to be a session 9:18 from 9 to 10 about the Department of Safety Administrative Overview. And then from 10 a.m. to noon was going to be the session on housing stability, which is a really big deal. Wonder what happened to that. All right, I'm not going to waste a lot of time worrying about it because I have other things that I need to do today, or at least I need to be doing this morning, since I'm going to have children coming home after school, and with no childcare, that means I got to mom and teach. So to that end, remember this, when we go through this proposed budget line by line, which y'all, I know it's painful. Let me show you how large this is, in fact. This is what they're counting on. Look at how they presented this nonsense. I'm so mad. If one of my analysts did this, I would be having fits. But this is how they present it, because they're not counting on you looking at it. This is all a level of deterrence. Luckily, I still have one of those fancy investment banker programs that lets me take a PDF and convert it to an Excel file. It takes a few minutes for one this large, but it's not impossible. Nothing is truly impossible when the people that are trying to trick you just aren't that smart and have a whole lot of minions working for them that don't care. $2021, we're just going to scan through this very quickly. If I can get it to come up, this page is so large. That's cool. There you go. Stop sharing that one. That didn't work out well. Let's move this over then. Share screen, application, Chrome tab. Here it is. Okay. Here, what you're looking at, and I know this is really hard to look at, and again, this is intentional. This is the totality of the budget, which, by the way, see that at the bottom? That's 3,000 pages. 3,000 pages that really wouldn't have taken up that much, didn't by the time I finished with it, didn't take up that much space in Excel. So the main things to notice for the meeting coming up later, sorry, as I go into this window. Okay, not that one. So the word housing is only found 33 times in here, which is always interesting to me. We do a search for a basic word. We run through and see where it is. Skyline Economic Development Administration. Housing stability, general fund operations. Oh, no, I can't see what I'm looking at. See what I mean? This is all very, again, intentionally obtuse. What, baby? I am, but I'm not going to be for very long, so come on down and work. It's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I want to see you want to do data strength before I start.
What? Data strength? Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, that's the work I have to do. My husband's very good. You want to do it together?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do it together. I love you. Okay, I see you. So here when we look at the Housing Stability General Fund operations, we take a look at the regular compensation, retirement, pension. It's like, what does all of this mean? What does all this mean? Other than we're going to be reducing benefits going into the future. That kind of sucks. We're going to be reducing services going into the future. We're going to be reducing equipment going into the future. We are restricting the entire budget, eliminating it going into the future. That is effectively a gigantic GD cut to the Office of Housing Stability. Already I have questions. Do you have questions? That's a good question. So I'll give you this link, and you don't have to be a Wharton MBA or a financial genius to ask questions. Morning, Cody. By the way, tonight is since Cody's here to remind me, it is a melanated mic night. I want y'all to go to that, but first I need you to come to City Council and make some noise about what you're going to hear today. And you got to make that noise loudly and everywhere. But we got to start at City Council. So if you click here, you can get the PDF version, which is a version you probably want to play with of the line by line budget. This is not a complete budget. It has a lot of holes in it, and I have a lot of questions. But if we do a basic search, like I'm going to show you how to do by keywords that are generally used in budgets, you might come away with some questions that you think are dumb, but are actually very intelligent and worth asking in social media with as many tags as you can possibly go in. If you look at this If you look here, I have tagged every single representative in it in order by district. So go find your district, find your council representative, tag them in your questions and ask them these questions. If they don't have the answer, they need to be asking them, because the one thing we need to hear, the one question we need to hear in every single session today, and then hold them accountable tonight at the city council meeting, is what portion of the budget for the unhoused could be used to pay DPD for security. So if we're cutting employees, then that means then we're going to need more staff. And how do we do that? Oh, by filling the existing gaps with our gigantic GD police force. You see where I'm going with this? Oh, we don't need social workers. The police are social workers. We don't need the STAR program. We've got the police. Right now, that is basically what this budget says. And at that thing at the bottom that's scrolling, that ticker, might seem a little extreme, but effectively, that's what it's saying. Until crime rates are down, we're just going to keep killing Black people. Until the budget balances and we don't need these services anymore, we're just going to let the unhoused die. That's not the America I fought for. That's not the America I was raised to believe in. And that's not what I want funded with my taxpayer dollars, with my husband's hard-earned money. Not gonna lie about that. So there you go. So the first word I would go through and search for is housing. Okay. The second word that I think is pretty important and worth going through, and this, mind you, this word is only found 40 times. 40. The next word I would want to go find is security. Look at that. Watch that. Can you see that populate? Still populating. 1,284. That's a lot. Now that's going to include the phrase Social Security a whole bunch. And again, that's intentional. It makes it harder to find those categories that could be used to pay the police. So if we're cutting, for example, the RTD employees, then that leaves the few there, theoretically, on each on call, vulnerable. So what do? If we have to reduce the RTD budget, then we put a little bit of money in the general fund, which is one line item that isn't broken out for security, which then gets lost in a 3,000-page document with the word security used 1,284 times. It's a good question. I think it's a good question. It's a question worth asking. In this budget here for the unhoused, how much of this is actually going to benefit the unhoused versus how much is going to be used to sweep them? Where are the money for the sweeps coming from? What part of the budget? How many sweeps have you budgeted for next year? I'm sure that's not going to be here in the budget for the unhoused. That's going to be in the budget for somewhere else. Considering each sweep, by my conservative estimates, is around $50,000, 50,000. That's a year's salary. That's a good year's salary for a whole bunch of people. $50,000 a pop. How many of those are you accounting for? I found where I think it's coming from, and it looks like they're counting on a 22% increase in sweeps next year. So if you're counting on a 22% increase in sweeps next year, why are you doing that? So what you're saying is you forecast an increase in sweeps. That means you do not forecast a decrease in homelessness. You are forecasting an increase in homelessness. So you're planning to penalize homelessness at an increased level. And you plan to spend more money on sweeps than you do solutions with my tax money. That's not okay. That's also not fiscally responsible. That's quite stupid, actually. You're just spreading a problem that you don't want to deal with into the community in lieu of doing something about it. How about if we gave, I don't know, $1 million, just $1 million, to Colorado Coalition for the Homeless and to see what they could do with it? Instead of people pooping on the curbs, if we had public toilets, that would be amazing. Because now that I've been downtown, I have to wonder how much of the poop am I seeing is actually from a dog. I don't see toilets anywhere. Why not? We should. Why are we cutting the sanitation budget instead of increasing or allocating for the areas where there's a whole lot of homeless people? Why are we reducing garbage collection and grass cutting instead of sweeps? We spend, again, by one of my analysts' conservative estimates, $3 to $4 million per year guarding the pig pen, guarding with the police inside and guarding the fence around it. $4 million. We're spending more to protect a patch of grass than we are the most vulnerable at risk in our city. Now, I don't have a whole master's in public health administration, but a couple of my friends do. And when they talk, I listen. And I listened a long time ago when I heard about this policy of needle exchanges. And because of my economics background, my initial response to this was absolutely not. That's ridiculous. That's an incentive to use if they can get clean needles. Because in economics, we talk about incentivizing behavior. Kind of sounds paternalistic, right? It's also not realistic. People aren't widgets, and psychological economics is a growing but still small field that relies on data collection and the surveillance that I am morally opposed to. But since we're not going there today, let's stay focused on this, the needle exchanges. I was vehemently against those until it was explained to me by this person with a master's of public health. That is true if you were talking about a few small individuals in your purview, like maybe your kids. I get that and I respect that. But from a policy perspective, here's what we have to say. If we can't control the problem, then we must contain it. And right now, we are spending money on policies to deter people from using drugs by criminalizing them. That didn't work. So now we're trying to deter doctors from prescribing them. And if you've had surgery recently, you know how well that's worked out. I had abdominal surgery last year and they didn't even give me Tylenol. And they wanted to send me home. I was not happy with that. I get it. We got an opioid crisis, but our attempts to control it have failed. So now, at that point, public policy then needs to pivot to what's called containment, accepting that there are some people that will continue to do this and limiting the harm that they can cause to society by containing the issue, either in one place, because if you have a needle exchange, they will all throw away their needles at that needle exchange. And I still heard this and thought, well, that sounds really nice, but I still can't get past the incentive to use. And then children in my neighborhood last year at Lincoln Elementary found dirty needles by the steps one morning, and the moms threw a fit. Lincoln responded well. I'm not here to say anything about Lincoln or the moms. My point is this: that was the moment when I really started buying into needle exchanges and started really thinking for the first time ever about containment versus control, rather than in terms of incentivizing behavior, which is hard as a mom, right? Because I'm supposed to be teaching good behavior through incentives. And these are mental patterns and ways and frameworks of problem solving that are really hard to break and change. But when it comes to the unhoused, it's layered and it's complicated, all the reasons that could lead to a person becoming chronically, long-term unhoused. And that's because, if you've been here before, you've heard me say the de facto insurer of last resort is the government. Okay, so when you have nowhere else to go and you have exhausted all your options, there needs to be some sort of a government option, because that is how you contain problems that you cannot control. And since we're not doing anything to control the housing population, we owe it to the rest of us, as well as, if you want to be really nasty about it, I don't care about the unhoused, great. Then you need to care about their ability to bring their problems into your neighborhood, and sweeps do exactly that. So if we can't control it, and we know we can't, then we need to contain it, which we're not doing. A sweep is the opposite of containment. So I want you to think about that for a little bit. If anything I said resonated with you, you can take the really bleeding heart liberal way, like this is unfair to the unhoused. And if you reject that, cool. Make it about you. This is unfair to me. You have failed in controlling this government, so it's up to you to contain it and keep it out of my backyard. I really don't care which position you take, but I care that you say and do something about it, because they are wasting your money guarding a fence. downtown. And they're wasting double that, sweeping the unhoused out of that area into the streets and into our backyards. I know this because I'm still finding poop in the alley behind my house and around the corner that I know doesn't belong to a dog. I've hunted enough to know what human poop looks like because hunters are nasty. It is what it is. I'm from rural Tennessee, y'all. But I tell you that to tell you this. I know when I see human poop, I'm seeing more and more of it around here. There's a church near us that offers free meals on Thursdays. And the Friday morning poop fest is one of the, I know where not to run. And that is a weird, weird thing in an urban area in the greatest country in the world, where I get tickets all the time for forgetting what day they're going to clean the leaves off the street, but not the human poop. So think about that. Do you have human poop in your area? Have you found needles near your kid's school? I live in a good part of town, y'all. It's not the fanciest. I don't need the fanciest, but there ain't nothing wrong with the West Side Wash Park. It's great. I love being here. But this is what's happening. And this is why the budget matters. We need to look at it. This budget tells us what we value as a city. And right now we value a fence downtown for photo ops more than we do the most vulnerable in our society. We are criminalizing poverty. We are criminalizing houselessness. We are criminalizing being Black. And and the proof of that, it sounds extreme, but this is how we are solving these issues with cops, courts, and cages, the 3 carceral C's, if you've ever listened to Mariam Kaba or Ruth Wilson Gilmore or Elizabeth Epps. When we send police to solve a problem, no matter how much training they have, the 2 tools that they do have at their disposal, the courts and the cages, we are solving problems with handcuffs. And that needs to stop. On that, I need to stop too. That's how I feel about that. And that's how I want you to feel about that and think about this when you show up to City Council tonight, to raise your voice as loud as you possibly can. We're not just going to yell. We're going to yell what we want them. We're going to say what we want them to hear. We're going to put passion in our voice as well as our actions. Breaking windows is great. I'm all for it. But not without a purpose and an objective. And this is the purpose and the objective that needs to be driving us today. Stop hiding money in the budget that you intend to be paid back to the police at the expense of everything else that could make the city really terrific as well as safe. You with me? Okay, go forth. I will come back and try to stream if I'm not able to. Cool. But go to this link. I put the link here in the comments. Click on it and just do a search for keywords: unhoused, housing, security. Start there. Then go through this proposal here. It's called the budget book. This is still boring. I'm going to warn you. But this is for people who don't want to go through the numbers. This is how they surmise the numbers. And you can do word searches here too. Nothing for the unhoused. Housing stability here under public health and environment. Remember what I said? Public health relies on the framework control or contain. What are we doing to control or contain the problem of housing stability? Ooh, that number grows 417 times. All right, that might be a lot, but you can just click this arrow and it'll go find it. Housing support, public health needs. And I think when you go through this yourself, you'll find that the only solution we're willing to deploy in the 2021 budget is the police, DPD. So on that, I'm going to stop. I will try to come back at 10, but if I can't, I sincerely apologize. You've got what you need, though. You've got your marching orders. You've got your homework. Go do a little homework. Don't just take my word for it. Go find it for yourself Ask me questions, I'll answer them. And then demand answers from your council person. Demand answers at city council. Don't stop asking questions. Your questions are not stupid. They are counting on you keeping your mouth shut out of shame because you don't want to sound stupid. That's why they do it this way. Don't let them call you stupid. Your protest mom is proud of you. I'm proud of you for being here. I'm proud of you for listening. I'm proud of you for engaging. And I am proud of you for asking questions no matter what. Please don't ever stop. On that, no, you're coached, you are loved. Let's go win at budget hearings, because all the broken windows in the world are nothing without specific asks. Then they just write you off as vigilantes, and I'm not going to let them do that to you. Don't make it easy for them.